So this is my little attempt to verbalize walking down another road. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is Slow Crochet. Today I want to talk about a project that I am not enjoying, and yet I'm determined to persist and make my way through it. And so this video is kind of my how to not get myself in this situation in the future. So the project in question is a Pokemon that I am making for a friend's child's birthday. And so far I have 4 of these bits going. And I say bits because technically this is an amigurumi made of multiple pieces. So this is an arm, and the arm has a hand, and it has 2 other little parts to it, and then there's even some claws that I haven't made. Even though I committed to making this project, I'm not loving it. And I'm finding for myself that in order to get this done, I'm having to pull extra emotional resources. And the thing that is supposed to be recharging and refreshing and joyful to my soul is becoming a chore. And I don't want that to happen. I'm realizing, and maybe you're in the same boat, that there are times in our lives when we have committed to things and we realize they're a lot more costly than we anticipated them being. And I'm not talking about monetary cost. I am talking a little bit about time cost, but I'm talking about the emotional cost. I talk about that a lot in my crochet channel, in some of my Yarny Philosophy videos, because for me, when we create, it's a highly emotional experience. We are putting our hearts in our hands. We're offering something to the world of our hearts. And crochet, especially for me, or whatever your joyful hobby, whatever your creative hobby might be, ought to feel refreshing and joyful. So what happens when it's not? Well, this is me kind of processing aloud with the hopes that as I reflect on this experience, that I won't end up shortchanging myself and undervaluing my own needs when it comes to crochet and the role it has in my life, and winding myself up in the same situation where I'm working on a project that the only thing holding me to it is the strength of this relationship of the person I committed to make it for. So if that particular person is watching this video, I love you, and I said this was a learning experience, and this is part of the learn for me. So how did I get myself in this particular situation? Well, I had a friend reach out to me and said, hey, my son's favorite Pokemon is this one. Could you crochet one? And I found a free pattern really quickly. I didn't take the time to read over the pattern, and that was mistake number 1. But I did say, hey, there's a free pattern. I think I could probably do it. Is there a time frame? She gave me a time frame. There was plenty of time. So I thought, sure, let's do it. Why not? I'll probably end up making a video about it. And honestly, this is not the video I intended to make. So let's talk about the expenditures that brought me here. Number 1, I had to go out and find the precise color of yarn. This is a Pokemon. This is an illustrated cartoon. This is an established character. It's not a character from a crochet book where you can create your own story with it. You can create your own kind of patterns of yarn or use whatever you like. This was highly specific. So number 1, I had to find a very specific yarn. Number 2, this had a very specific look. So I had to really follow a pattern pretty precisely. Number 3, this is a very niche kind of project to do. So the fact that I found any kind of free pattern was amazing. I thought, okay, it's a sign, I'm gonna do it. Time expenditure, I had to go out and find the yarn. I ended up going to Joann's and going through every blue, gray, aqua yarn that I could find until I finally decided on Lion Brand Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling. So if you know any of those big box stores, there are so many different varieties of yarn, and in amigurumi, maybe the first thing that you gravitate towards isn't going to be 100% acrylic. So I had to kind of weigh the fiber content versus the colors. Now I have nothing against acrylic. I think all fibers have a time and a place and a beauty, and it's so wonderful to see how creative people can be with the colors available. And really that was the selling point. Acrylic comes in so many unique and precise colors. So that's what I went with. But if I had a choice between an acrylic or say a cotton acrylic blend or a wool blend or something of that nature, something with some kind of natural fiber in it, I'm gonna lean a little bit more towards that. If I'm just saying what makes me happy when I'm crocheting, what's my absolute favorite, I'm gonna go with a more natural fiber. So that's one thing that I just noted, like, okay, this project, number one, requires the time to find a precise yarn. It has a very precise pattern, and it's also working with a fiber that isn't bad, it's just not my favorite. So next expense is time. There is a time frame on this. The child's birthday is, as you watch this video, probably happening within the week, so I still have quite a bit to do. This is a pattern that I have to follow precisely. So it's something that I can't just autopilot on. I can't do it when I'm in a car or sitting in a waiting room. It's something that I have to highly focus on. So not only is there kind of a time crunch in it, but it requires concentrated time. Like pretty much everyone in the world, my life is very full. And so for me, I use crochet as a time to relax, to feel refreshed, to feel restored. And so here I am making a project that requires a lot of concentration. Now, in general, I don't mind having one or two projects that require concentration. I have a shawl going on right now that's like a 12-row repeat, which I love. I can't memorize those. I'm having to constantly reference the pattern. So I don't mind having things that require some concentration, but for the most part, I only want one or two of those projects at a time because I want crochet to feel restful to me. This project is not restful. So fiber, time, restfulness, and concentration. Since this is a toy going to a child, it needs to be child friendly. I want the family to be able to wash this if need be. So that means I can't go with my standard stuff with whatever yarn scraps I have. I need to actually go out and buy some fiber fill. But in recent years, I have just not enjoyed fiber fill as much. Maybe it's because there's allergies in the house, maybe because it goes everywhere, maybe it seems less eco-friendly in the long run. It's little microplastics that are gonna go somewhere. So here it is, another material that I wouldn't have used otherwise. So again, another extra little thing on this project. The last thing is that I didn't fully read the pattern. I didn't fully take in the pattern before deciding to say yes to it, and that definitely could do differently in the future. This pattern has so many different little pieces, and they all require being sewn together. So I'm trying to break down the pattern and not get the pieces confused. I'm trying to sew them along as I go, and it's just very tedious and laborious. So sewing on those pieces, I know, is not my favorite way to crochet. When I look at all of the things that are entailed in this project, from the yarn selection to the stuffing to the pattern itself, I realize that the main reason I said I would do it was because this is a friend of mine. And much as I love this friend, the message that I believed when I agreed to this project was that her request was more important than my rest. Her request was more important than me getting what my heart needs from something that I love doing. So again, this was a big learn. It is not her fault at all, and I am determined to finish this, and I will finish it, and it'll be great. But the expense has been my rest and my peace. I don't like the feeling of not enjoying a project. I don't like the feeling of dreading it. I don't like the feeling of feeling like I'm cheating by going and working on something else when this is looming over me unfinished. So what am I gonna do in the future? What I want to remember about this project is, number one, ask myself, am I agreeing to it because of who is asking me to do it? Is that the main thrust of why I'm agreeing to the project? Because if so, I need to say no. Even if it's to one of my children, even if it's to my husband, if the only reason I'm doing it is for them and it's not something that I would have initiated myself or I would have enjoyed myself for other reasons, I need to just say no. Because when I say yes to taking my restful crochet, my energizing time, and I give that to someone else, I'm actually saying that they matter more than I do. I'm a firm believer that love says, you matter and so do I. And for whatever reason, in the season of life that I'm in with my children, the ages that they are, and the way that our life works, I'm doing a lot of you matter, you matter. And it's harder for me to say, and so do I. Sometimes it feels like it's easier to meet everyone else where they're at than for me to step up and have that firm boundary and say, no, I matter too. And I can protect crochet as a sacred, holy place for me. I don't get to go on sunset runs through the woods anymore. That is not the season of life I'm in. I don't get to just gallivant off on an adventure and recharge in the mountains or whatever it is that makes my heart come alive. I have responsibilities and commitments that are more important than those preferences of mine. But that means the things that do recharge me need to be priorities and protected priorities at that. So for me, this is about valuing crochet and its role in my life right now enough to protect it and say no. So number one parameter, is that person the only reason I'm saying yes to the project? Number two, read the pattern. One cumbersome pattern can turn something joyful into something dreadful. Having to frog multiple times, feeling like you're under pressure to get it done because if you get it wrong again, then you're just going to frog back and you're going to have wasted that time. That kind of pressure is not worth it. I need to be more diligent in reading the pattern. I also need to be diligent in understanding the limitations around what's being asked. Do I get to use a fiber that I like? Do I get to use colors that I like? Am I excited about the materials or learning something new? Even if it's not a pattern I've done before, even if it looks a little challenging, is there joy in it? Because I'm excited about what I'm making. I'm hopeful it's something beautiful that I've chosen myself. I'm attracted to independently of anyone's ask. Do I love the project in and of itself enough to carry me through the challenge? And I think that's one of the things with any kind of crochet. We press ourselves, we grow in our art because we see something of value in the growth. We see beauty, we see flexibility, we see a new tool in the tool belt. There's so many things that drive us and motivate us to learn new things and try new things. But it's very hard to be motivated to pursue that knowledge if it feels like a weight around our shoulders rather than something that we're striving towards or reaching towards of our own self. I had a counselor who once said, you walk down the road and you fall in a hole. The next day, you walk up to the hole, you stop, and you don't fall in. The third day, you walk up to the hole and you walk around the hole. And hopefully by the fourth day, you walk down another road. So this is my little attempt to verbalize walking down another road. I don't want to find myself in the place anymore where I don't like what I'm making, but I have committed myself to it. Now, let me be completely fair. I could say today to my friend, I just can't. I'm not going to do it. She would be fine. No hard feelings. But there's part of me that's just like, I said I would do it. It is a challenge. I want to press through. I want to see if I can actually get it done, even if it costs me something. But in exchange for it costing me the time and the emotions and the not really getting to do the things that I love doing about crocheting, not really feeling recharged in crochet. In exchange for all that, I'm going to wring some wisdom. I want to pull some knowledge out of this experience. And that's what this video is. So let me know what you think. How do you decide whether or not to crochet something specific for someone? Have you had an experience like this where you've committed to something and you're like, this is not as joyful as I thought it would be? Let me know your experiences in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And busy as we all are, I certainly appreciate that you've taken some time out of your day to listen to my cogitations and ramblings about this beautiful craft that we love. Thank you so much for being part of this YouTube adventure with me. I'm so glad that I've gotten to spend some time with you, and I'm honored that you would spend your time with me. If I'm not your cup of tea, thank you so much for listening this long. I do appreciate it, and I do hope I'll see you again soon. Bye.